Car Lords, what's going on? Today, we're installing fog lamps on the Focus. That's right, fog lamps for my Focus, so that I can go from the SE model to pretending I am on the titanium model level. So, let's get started. So to get started, what you need to do is remove the two little vents that are on either side covering up the fog lamp holes on your front bumper. There's the little vents there. Basically what you do is you take a credit card, slide it on the inside of the vent, and then just pull it out with a pair of pliers, something that can get a grip on the plastic, and out they come. Next thing we're going to need to do is remove the torque screws that are on the inside of the wheel well. I believe there are three. There's one there, and just a bit inside right there. Once those are out, we can move this fender wall cover and we'll have access to inside the bumper without removing it. Now we have access in there, but just be aware that there are these little metal clips on the second, or the first and second screw slot to give the screws a little extra traction under there. They just stick right on. So they stick on just like that to give the screw something to grip on the inside. And now as you can see, there's daylight coming through both sides, so we have access to the wheel well. Now I'm gonna go do the same thing on the other side. Alright, so now I'm gonna try to reach the bulb through and just to see where these mounting holes line up inside the our little fister mister hole here. That's inappropriate. Alrighty, so there's our view from the front. As you can see, little mounting slots lined up perfectly. I'm gonna just see if I can get the screws back there and mount these up before we start messing around with the wiring. Alright guys, well the manufacturer provides you with these little screws, which I assume you were meant to just kind of screw into your body panels. But this bumper is designed to have them there, so what I'm discovering is everything lines up perfectly, and there's actually little pins on the other side that line up with these screw holes except for this hole. So what I'm going to do is take a nut and bolt and secure that last corner so that it cannot fall out any longer with just a nut and bolt, and we'll do the same thing on the other side. Okay, so now both sides are held in with one bolt, but the light still moves. What I've discovered is this little chunk of plastic that is in there on the opposite corner is hollow, and it lines up with the other mounting joint of the light. So what I'm going to do is take another one of these bolts and bolt it on the inside. You won't be able to see it from the outside, but it's the same thing as this, but on the opposite side underneath. Now the fog lights are in and secure on both sides. I've got the wiring harness out, and we're going to begin snaking it through the engine bay. So to start off, we have obviously one connection for that bulb, which runs across and is falling on the ground. Connection for the other bulb, so that'll run through underneath inside the bumper. Then we have positive connection, the ground, all your modules and fuses, and then after that, all of this wiring snakes way down through there. There's a hole way at the bottom of the engine bay that will snake into the cabin. So first up, fog lamps. Okay guys, to start off, I put the 2 lamp plugs down this hole in the engine to the right of the air intake. There are some other wire harnesses down there as well. So I fed this alongside those. That one comes down here and is plugged into this fog lamp. Now for the next wire, there is a series of little vents in front of the engine there that you can see. I'm gonna run this wire along those so that it comes all the way across and into here. Okay, now that the front is wired up, we can get started on mounting the positive and the ground. What I did was I zip tied it here, ran it through underneath the intake and the radiator, and zip tied it to the bottom of the bumper on the other side so that way it won't interfere with any of the engine's components. So now we're going to connect the positive to the positive on the battery, and the ground is going to attach to the ground there on the body of the car. Once that's done, all of this wire is going to go down that accessory hole that I showed before. Okay, the clip I just showed where I connected the black wire to the ground is actually wrong. The instructions say that it goes there. The instructions never label a negative, which I thought was weird. So I went online, found a video where, I'll put a link in the description, where the guy does most of the steps, but he never wires it to the cab, which is what I want to do. And so I copied his steps, and the black cord is actually the negative. So the negative goes there. This now runs to the switch, and the ground comes off the switch later on once you've got this wired through the firewall, and the ground can attach into a different portion of the car later on. That we don't need to worry about that for now. But basically what I have so far is positive and negative are connected. This wire here is meant to connect to the relay that is controlling the low lights on and off, or low beams on off. And the problem with that is you need to find the wires to connect to on the wiring harness in the fuse box, which is really hard to get to. So right now I can make the fog lights work by connecting this wire to the positive and flipping the switch on and off. Now, I could just wire this here. It probably would be close to short circuiting and not exactly proper, and the fog lights would only ever turn on and off when I told them to, which is bad because if I left these on, the battery would just keep them on until they died, and I wouldn't be able to start my car again. So I want to get this wired through the firewall and connected to the proper low lights power line so that it's going to turn the lights off when the lights are off, and it's going to allow me to flick on the fog lamps on command. So getting through the firewall is the next issue I have, and I really don't know how to do it because Ford decided that instead of being like everyone else where they have the battery fuse box and then it immediately goes through the firewall behind there, Ford was like, nah, fuck that. And they were like, let's wire it all the way across and go through the passenger side and wire the fuses over on the passenger side. So I'm currently trying to figure out how I get through the firewall on the passenger side and have my switch wired up on the driver's side. So I'm going to try to figure that out, and I'll let you guys know what conclusion I come to. Okay guys, exciting moment. I'm through the firewall with the cords. It took a bit of searching online to find it, and it took a bit of searching in the car, but to the left of your steering rack, there will be a piece of foam covering a piece of plastic like this. Now what you want to do is cut a slice through this piece of plastic, shove your finger through, pull it out. Guess what? You're through the firewall. So from there what I did is I wrapped the 3 cords with a piece of yarn so that they would be much smaller, they'd go the same direction. And I got it close to the firewall. I then fished it through with a pair of pliers. And now what I'm going to do is stick them through this here plastic thing put the plastic back in the hole, and then we can wire the button up in the cab. It'll probably be around here somewhere underneath, where it's inconspicuous, doesn't look as ghetto. Don't drill through the airbag. Bad idea. Don't do that. Here's the wiring from the outside. So we have the positive, negative back there, wired up. Then that little solenoid thingy fuse connector that you're supposed to connect to the fuse that turns your lights off and on, I was like, fuck that, and I attached it to the positive just behind the fuse. And that way the lights are turned on command, but it also means that if you forget to turn them off, they don't turn off, and now your car battery's dead. The ground is on the ground, which is good. And the wires are fed through, so here's a bigger look. Battery, fuse box, between the fuse box gets you back to the firewall hole back in there. So now that this is done, we can cover all this nonsense up. That's zip tied there, it's solid. And now we're gonna work on the inside. So there's the wires coming out from the firewall. I have them heading pretty much straight back, right to the OBD. I have no idea what that is. I do know that has to do with the computer's ECU and whatever else. But there is a little hole already in this cabinet. Oh, don't want to lose that in there. And this little guy fits perfectly out of it. Off, on, off, on. Now, what you could do if you wanted it to be a little more permanent is go above this, drill a hole in your interior, and fit the wires through that, but I don't really want to drill a hole through my interior. And from back here, like, it almost looks like it belongs there. Obviously, you pull it out, it little wiggles and whatever, but that looks a hell of a lot better than trying to wire it through your body panels or just having the fog lights on all the time. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. The fog lights have been installed with the switch enabled. You can have fog lights whenever you want. That's right. Don't want them on, turn them off. You want them on, turn them on. That's it. That's it for today's little tutorial. I really hope that I helped some people figure out what they were trying to figure out if they're doing the install on their Ford Focus, because I have yet to see anyone do the install online with like full description with the switch functional. So that's my version. I really hope it gives someone else a little bit of hope on how to do this, and hopefully you go ahead and do it and figure it out your own way, because fog lights, man. Fog lights. Who doesn't need fog lights, man? But seriously, I do really hope that I gave someone a helping hand, and I hope that your car is now as lit as my car is lit. So that's it for today, guys. Thanks for watching. We're going to have some new videos up this weekend, so stay tuned, give a little subscribe-a-libble, and we'll see you around. Peace out.